Dear friends, I am Professor D.G. Trivedi going to take your electromagnetic waves lecture 6. We have already studied in electromagnetic waves, plane waves in a non-conducting medium. The equation was derived from the Maxwell's equation. So whatever information you have obtained from the classical theory of electromagnetic, the same information you can obtain by evaluating the Maxwell's equations, and how the Maxwell's has processed this one, that we can study over here. We have already started with this, and we have obtained certain similar equation for the electric field and magnetic field, and comparing with the wave equation, we obtain the velocity of electromagnetic waves in a free space is nothing but mu 0 epsilon 0 raised to minus 1 half, and in a material medium it is nothing but mu epsilon raised to 1 half. Then we have started the second characteristic of this one. We have obtained the characteristic of the plane wave. That means plane waves are propagating in a one particular direction and normal to that direction in a plane that is called the wavefront, in which the electric and magnetic field vectors are lying. That means they will be having a components in this plane only, and that plane or wavefront is propagating with the phase velocity v that we have studied. Then we have proved that electric field and magnetic field are oscillating in the same phase, and their amplitude is given by E0 upon upon H0, which is called intrinsic impedance of the medium, and that is equal to mu omega upon k, and omega upon k is nothing but the wave velocity. So mu into v, that is nothing but intrinsic impedance of the medium. That is a characteristic of the medium, and that is in it is ohm, that we have already studied. Now we are studying little further to that. Thus the monochromatic plane waves always has E and H in phase, and with the ratio of their amplitude at any instant at any point is given by E upon H is equal to mu omega upon k, that is equal to mu into V. For a plane wave in free space, that means in a vacuum, Z0 is given by mu is converted to mu 0, and V is going to be converted in the free space velocity of electromagnetic waves V0, and if we substitute the value of mu 0 is equal to 4 pi into 10 raised to minus 7, and velocity of the electromagnetic waves in a free space 3 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second, then we will find out that value of Z0, that is the characteristic of a free space, is nothing but 376.7 ohms. That means this is nothing but the ratio of the amplitude of the electric field to the magnetic field. That means we can say that amplitude of the electric field is 376.7 times higher than the amplitude of magnetic field. So this way we can understand the characteristic impedance, or you can say that it is intrinsic impedance of a free space. As the wave propagates, to two vectors may both changes their direction in the yz plane without violating any of the condition established so far. So here we have considered that we have orient our coordinate system in such a way that if electromagnetic waves are propagating in one particular direction, and that particular direction is designated as x-axis, that means in the perpendicular to that x-axis, that is the yz plane, in yz plane the electric field vector and magnetic field vectors are lying, and in this yz plane anywhere in this electric field vector and magnetic field vector may be there, or you can say that by rotating this electric and magnetic field vectors in the yz plane, the none of the conditions established so far is going to be violated, or they are going to be established already. That means electric field vector and magnetic field vector are oscillating in the same phase. Phase difference between them, alpha, is going to be remains to be 0. That we have already studied. Now we are going to study a more general wave. That means if we consider that electric and magnetic field disturbance or electromagnetic waves are propagating in certain direction and which is having a position vector r. That means we can say that electric field, which is a function of position vector r and t, and magnetic field H is also a function of position vector r and t. So in place of this expression that it was propagating previously in a limited x direction, so now it is propagating in any particular directions r. So our general wave solutions to the electric field and magnetic field is given by equation 6.18 and 19. That is nothing but electric field is a function of r and t, that is equal to E0 e raised to I k dot r minus omega t, because k is the propagation vector and r is the position vector in which the and direction of propagation is there. So the dot product of these two vector is nothing but the scalar minus omega t, and similarly h, which is a function of r and t, that is equal to h0 e raised to I k dot r minus omega t. Here E0 and H0 are amplitudes of the electric field and magnetic field, and they are vectors constant in time. That means they are independent of time, they are only depending upon the position. And capital K is nothing but the propagation vector that can be given by unit vector ek caret into magnitude of the propagation vector k, that is modulus of k is a propagation vector, ek caret being a unit vector in the direction of propagation. Since E and H are real, we are interested only in the real part of equation 6.18 and 6.19. So equation 6.18 and 6.19, which is the solutions to the electric field and magnetic field, which is a complex quantity, but we are interested only in the real part of this. Now electric field and magnetic field obtained as above must also satisfy the Maxwell's equations. So if the equation 6.18 and 6.19 are the solutions for the electric and magnetic field, they must satisfy the Maxwell's equation. So we are going to substitute this solutions electric field and magnetic field in Maxwell's equation 1, 2 and 3, and will prove the other characteristic of electromagnetic waves, that is electromagnetic waves are transverse in a character. That particular characteristic is going to be evolved by substituting equation 6.18, that is the solutions for the electric field, and 6.19, which is solutions for the magnetic field, in a Maxwell's first second equations. What is the first equation of the Maxwell's? The first equation of the Maxwell's is divergence of D is equal to rho, or D is equal to epsilon E, epsilon 0 E. So we can substitute that divergence of E is equal to rho upon epsilon 0, and in a region where the charge density rho is going to be 0, we can say that divergence of E is equal to 0. So we can substitute from the equation 6.18, that is equal to E0 e raised to I k dot r minus omega t. That means divergence of E is equal to divergence of E0 e raised to I k dot r minus omega t, that is equal to 0. Here E0 is a vector and e raised to I k dot r minus omega t is a scalar. So this is the divergence of vector into scalar, and we can utilize the vector identity for this one. What is the vector identity for divergence of phi into A? Phi into divergence of A plus gradient of phi dot E0, and we know that because on the right hand side it is going to be E0, it is going to be 0, so divergence of E is going to be 0, so phi into divergence of E is equal to 0. That means remains here it is nothing but the gradient of phi in dot E, and here we know that this is the vector quantity and this is going to be scalar quantity. So when the gradient is actually operating on this scalar quantity e raised to I k dot r minus omega t, you have to differentiate this one and that way differentiation will give you ik into e raised to ik dot r minus omega t, which is going to be multiplied with E0, and hence this is nothing but vector k dot vector e, that is equal to 0. So we leads to the relations k dot e is equal to 0, that is your equation 6.20. What is k? Propagation vector. And what is e? Electric field vector. So dot product of this two vector is going to be 0. What it indicates? When dot product of any two vector is 0, means this two vector must be perpendicular to each other. That means the electric field vector is perpendicular to the direction of propagation. Similar result we can obtain from Maxwell's second equation. Divergence of B is equal to 0. So B is equal to mu H. So we can substitute the solutions H is equal to H0 e raised to I k dot r minus omega t. And similar argument like this one, that is divergence of H0 e raised to I k dot r minus omega t is equal to 0, and hence that leads to the equation k dot h is equal to 0, similar like this, that is equation 6.21. Again the dot product of this two vector is 0, that means these two vectors are perpendicular to each other, which indicates that electric field is a perpendicular to the direction of propagation, and here the magnetic field is also perpendicular to the direction of propagation. That means electric field is is oscillating perpendicular to the direction of propagation, and magnetic field is also oscillating perpendicular to the direction of propagation, and hence these waves are nothing but transverse in a character. So electromagnetic waves are transverse in character, hence is proved here. This shows that both E and H are perpendicular to the propagation vector k. Such a wave is called a transverse wave. Electromagnetic plane waves are wholly transverse in a character. Let us now substitute equation 6.18 in a Maxwell's third equation, which is derived from Faraday's law of induction, that is curl of E is equal to minus del B upon del T. So we can substitute that curl of E, and curl of E is equal to, from equation 6.18 we can substitute E is equal to E0 e raised to I k dot r minus omega t. So if we substitute, this is going to be vector and this is going to be the scalar. Again this is nothing but, we can utilize the product rule. That means this is nothing but the gradient of scalar e raised to I k dot r minus omega t cross E0. So we can obtain from here the differentiation of the scalar, that will give you ik into e raised to ik dot r minus omega t, and that is going to be multiplied with E0 will give you E. So this will result that ik cross vector E. So that is on the left hand side, that is propagation vector cross product with the electric field vector is equal to minus del B upon del T. Now B is equal to mu H, so we can substitute here, that is equal to minus mu del H upon del T, and the value of H we can substitute from equation 6.19, that is equal to H0 e raised to I k dot r minus omega t. If we substitute this one, again we differentiate e raised to I k dot r minus omega t with respect to time, that will produce minus I omega into H0 e raised to I k dot r minus omega t, and that is nothing but the vector H, which is a function of r and t. Hence we can substitute here that minus sign, and this minus sign will be cancelled out. That means the differentiation I omega into this mu into the vector H will be there. That means on the left hand side we are having ik cross E, and on the right hand side we are having I mu omega H. I can be cancelled out both the sides, which results k cross E is equal to mu omega H. This result 6.22 is very important. It gives the relations between these three vectors: k propagation vector, electric field vector, and H is the magnetic field vector. How they are going to be related with the magnitude and directions, that can be shown by this equation 6.22. So this relation, please remember always, because in further also we are going to utilize this relations. That means if you want to convert the two vectors into remaining vectors, then this relation is very important. So this relation says that cross product of these two vector k cross E is equal to mu omega h. Mu omega is some value and h is a magnetic field vector. Now, what it indicates in a directions? H is a perpendicular to vector k also as well as E also. We have already derived here that electric field vector is perpendicular to the direction of propagation, magnetic field vector is also perpendicular to the direction of propagation, but here we are proving that H is also perpendicular to the electric field vector. That means E and H, which are perpendicular to the direction of propagation, are also perpendicular to each other. That means they are in a plane normal to the direction of propagation, but in that plane also the existence of the electric and magnetic field are also perpendicular to each other, and that wave front is propagating with the velocity v in the direction of propagation, and hence they are forming a orthogonal set. They obeys the right hand orthogonal rules. Here H is a perpendicular to both K and E. In other words, E and H, which relates to the propagation of the waves, in addition to being perpendicular to the direction of propagation, are also perpendicular to each other. That means E and H, which are perpendicular to the direction of propagation, but they are also perpendicular to each other. The vector E cross H points along the direction of propagation, and the vector E, H and K constitute a right hand orthogonal set, figure 6.1. So you can see that if we consider that electric field vector is oscillating in vertical direction, the magnetic field vector is perpendicular to that. So E and H constitute one plane, and normal to that plane is the direction of propagation is there. They will form a right hand screw rule. So if you rotate, if you put a right hand screw perpendicular to the plane E cross H and rotate from E to H, it will propagate, it will advance in this direction, and that is the direction of propagations will be there. So it forms a right hand screw rule, and hence it is called constitute a right hand orthogonal set. Now, what will be the velocity of this electromagnetic waves in a free space? That already we have proved that velocity of the electromagnetic waves in a free space V0 is equal to 1 upon mu 0 epsilon 0 raised to 1 half. So you can see that velocity of electromagnetic waves in a free space is given by V0 is equal to 1 upon mu 0 epsilon 0 raised to 1 half, and the best value of epsilon 0 is obtained by Rosa and Porcy, and that value is quoted here. The value of epsilon 0 is equal to 8.8547 into 10 raised to minus 12, and mu 0 is equal to 4 pi into 10 raised to minus 7. If we substitute these values in these equations and we calculate, then we will find out the velocity of electromagnetic waves in a free space is equal to 2.99784 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. That is equation 6.23. This velocity is the same as velocity of light in free space. You know that the velocity of light was measured. It was experimentally. So many experiment was done to measure the velocity of light, and that velocity of light was measured, and its value was comes out to be 2.99785 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. And here also the velocity of electromagnetic waves, which we calculated from the Maxwell's equation, it found to be 2.99784 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. That means velocity of light, which was experimentally measured, and velocity of the electromagnetic waves are calculated, they are found to be same. What does it indicate? That light is nothing but electromagnetic waves only. So light is electromagnetic waves, and in electromagnetic waves a spectrum you can see here. Thus, the velocity is the same as the velocity of light in a free space. We now thus led to the conclusions that light is simply a form of electromagnetic radiation. So, light is nothing but a simply form of electromagnetic radiations, and this electromagnetic waves which is having a different wavelengths, and according to the different wavelengths they are classified into different regions, and that different regions together is known as a electromagnetic spectrum. And if the wavelength v is equal to f lambda, you know that frequency into wavelength lambda, that is nothing but the velocity of light, and velocity of light for all wavelengths or all frequency in a free space is going to be the same, but they may be having a different value of wavelength or a frequency, and they are going to be classified in this manner. So, electromagnetic waves which is starting from the lowest wavelength, the lowest wavelength is starting from 10 raised to minus 15 meter to the maximum of 10 raised to 8 meter. This is the range of electromagnetic waves, or that is called electromagnetic spectra in a wavelength lambda. So, when the wavelength is in the order of 10 raised to minus 15 meter or something, that is known as a gamma rays, and from the slightly higher to that, that is 10 raised to minus 14 meter or something, and that higher to that little more is called the X-ray regions is there, 10 raised to minus 14 to 10 raised to minus 10 or something, which is known as a X-ray region. From these regions, then after X-ray regions it comes the UV rays, that is from 3000 angstrom and lower to that, it is called a UV rays, ultraviolet region is going to be there. And from 4000 angstrom to 8000 angstrom, which is known as the visible regions, that means the light which we can visible, and in that visible light regions there is a different colors can be observed: red, blue, green, yellow, violet, etc. This kind of green, etc. colors can be observed, which is having a different wavelengths, you know that. And from 8000 angstrom to 20,000 angstrom, which is called IR regions, infrared regions is going to be there. In infrared region also there is a three regions is bifurcated, that is near infrared, then middle infrared will be there, and far infrared regions is going to be there, that is in the range from 8000 to 20,000 angstrom. And after 20,000 angstrom there is a microwave region is going to be there, that is from 1 millimeter to 1 meter. That wavelength range is known as a microwave. Microwave is also subdivided into so many bands. There is a P band, then there is a S band, then there is a K band and Ka band, and so many bands are there in a microwave regions, which is ranging from 1 millimeter to 1 meter. And these microwave regions are utilized for satellite communication, mobile communication, etc. And then from 1 meter onwards, it is called the radio waves. Radio waves are utilized for the communication purpose. You know very well, there is a medium wave. That medium wave is nothing but which contains your radio communications. Then there is a television communications and satellite communication, etc. This kind of radio waves are going to be utilized. Now, these electromagnetic waves, which is actually mathematically given by Maxwell, and later, after so many years, Heinrich Hertz has produced these electromagnetic waves in a laboratory by spark plug method. That you know that two metallic rods are working as an inductor and two spheres which are sliding over there, which is working as a capacitor, and that way the electric field and magnetic field, time varying electric and magnetic field was produced, and they become together and they are propagated in the space. And this way the Heinrich Hertz was the first to demonstrate the existence of the waves generated by oscillatory spark discharge, and this also possessed so many property of light. What are the light is having a property? Light can reflect. You have studied very basically that reflections, refractions, then polarizations, then interference, this kind of property light is having. And same kind of property is exhibited by the electromagnetic waves which is produced by Heinrich Hertz in the laboratory. You know that when you are studying in the laboratory, you are utilizing some kind of lamp, maybe the sodium lamp you are utilizing, maybe the helium lamp you are utilizing, or halogen lamps you are utilizing for visible light spectra. And that visible light spectra which is going to be generated in the laboratory, that is also one kind of electromagnetic waves in a visible range. Or if there is a sodium lamp is going to be there, yellow light is going to be generated 5800 angstrom or something. These are having, you are studying this reflections, refraction, etc. using this kind of electromagnetic waves. That means electromagnetic waves is also exhibit the same property as the property of light, and hence the light is nothing but electromagnetic waves, you can say that. So the direct verification of electromagnetic waves predicted by Maxwell was obtained in experiment of Heinrich Hertz, who was among the first to demonstrate the existence of the waves generated by oscillatory spark discharge, and to show that they possess many of the familiar properties of the light, such as reflections, refractions, interference, and polarization. We identified the phase velocity of the electromagnetic waves in a material medium is V is equal to 1 upon epsilon mu raised to 1 half. This already we have established this equation from Maxwell's equation. Evaluating this Maxwell's equation, we know that the phase velocity of the electromagnetic waves in a material medium is given by mu epsilon raised to 1 half, and this value is depending upon that medium. So you know that mu is equal to mu 0 mu r. What is mu r? Relative permittivity of the medium, that is equal to mu upon mu 0, that is equal to mu r. So you can substitute here, mu is equal to mu 0 mu r, and similarly epsilon is equal to epsilon 0 epsilon r. And we have already established that 1 upon mu 0 epsilon 0 raised to 1 half is nothing but V0, that is velocity of electromagnetic waves in a free space, upon epsilon 0 epsilon r mu r raised to 1 half will be there. So the phase velocity V in a material medium is equal to phase velocity of electromagnetic waves in a free space upon epsilon r mu r raised to 1 half, and this value is always greater than 1. What it indicates? That V is less than V0, which is shows that velocity of electromagnetic waves in a material medium is decreases, and then compared to the velocity in the free space. For a light waves in a non-dispersing medium, so when the light is propagating in a non-dispersing medium, that also having a phase velocity V is equal to the velocity in a vacuum or free space C upon n. N is nothing but the refractive index or index of refractions in a material medium, that is a property of the medium. So comparing this equation with the previous equation, we get n is equal to mu r epsilon r raised to 1 half, where n is nothing but refractive index of the medium. Comparing this equation with equation 6.24 gives that n is equal to epsilon r mu r raised to 1 half. But you have to be considered that all of these three quantities has to be measured with the same frequency. If the frequency is different, then this equation is not going to be true. So the refractive index is a frequency dependent, epsilon r and mu r also are frequency dependent. So all these three quantity has to be measured at the same frequency. Not that this applies that if n, mu r and epsilon are determined at the same frequency, then this relation is going to be true, and we can find out the refraction index through epsilon r and mu r. substituting this formula. Thank you very much, friends.